When the NBA introduced the idea of a play-in game prior to the 2020 playoffs, it was met with excitement. And when they expanded it to a 4-team wildcard style tournament this season, it changed the dynamic of how teams approach the regular season, as the line between cellar-dwellers and playoff hopefuls has blurred. With almost 75% of the season completed, it appears a handful of teams are stuck in no man's land between tanking and keeping within reach of a play-in spot. With one of the best draft classes in recent history ahead of us, it's a silly spot to be in. If your best case scenario is a couple of measly playoff games, you should be folding your hand until the next season. The upcoming draft isn't one to gloss over. It's been coined as one of the most impressive draft classes in recent history, and at the top has players that many believe possess the qualities of generational talents. Guys like projected number 1 overall pick Cade Cunningham, USC's big man and defensive stopper Evan Mobley, 2 unbelievable athletes in Jonathan Kuminga and Jalen Green, who have already gotten reps in against NBA players with the G League's Ignite program, and finally, Gonzaga's scoring machine Jalen Suggs. With the NBA reforming the lottery odds in 2019, more teams now have a chance to land a high lottery pick. We saw that in 2019 when the Pelicans and Grizzlies landed first and second in the lottery respectively, despite only having a 6% chance of landing in the top 3. The Pelicans chose Zion Williamson, while the Grizzlies landed Ja Morant. This season, the Timberwolves, Pistons, Rockets, Cavaliers, Wizards, and Magic have the 6 worst records in the NBA and have already predetermined the bottom tier of the draft.
Let's face it, we suck.
But what about the other 8 teams that are lottery bound? Teams 7 to 10 in the standings of each conference will participate in play-in games to determine who will be the 7th and 8th seed in the playoffs for each conference. Take a look at the Eastern Conference from the 4th seed to the 11th seed. As of time of writing, there is only a 4.5 game difference between the 4th best record in the Eastern Conference and not even earning a play-in spot. Now take a look at the Western Conference from the 7th seed to the 13th seed, which is only separated by 4 games. In the East, the Bulls made their intentions clear at the deadline by acquiring Nikola Vucevic. They're looking to make the playoffs. The same can be said about the Heat, who added Victor Oladipo and Nemanja Bjelica in hopes of making a long playoff run. The Celtics and Hawks added Evan Fournier and Lou Williams respectively, and despite the fact that those are trades that don't necessarily move the needle, it at least shows the intentions that they're trying to move up in the standings. The Knicks, who have surprised many this season, are one of the middling teams that would be better off drafting in the lottery than playing playoff basketball.
It's the Knicks!
Go the Knicks!
Whoa!
Now before you get mad at me, Knicks fans, I promise you it is for your own good. The Knicks have the 9th hardest schedule in the NBA for the remaining 27 games of the season at the time of writing. And while the nucleus of all-star Julius Randle, RJ Barrett, Mitchell Robinson, and rookie sensation Emmanuel Quickley is probably dangerous enough to earn a play-in spot, how much more beneficial would it be for this young team to add another lottery-worthy talent? I guess they don't agree, as their trade for Derrick Rose was seemingly made to help increase their chances of snapping their 8-year playoff drought.
And the Knicks lose another one!
The same can be said about the Charlotte Hornets, who will be missing Rookie of the Year frontrunner LaMelo Ball for at least 4 weeks, and also have a clear need when it comes to filling the center position. Possibly the most puzzling team in the Eastern Conference is the Toronto Raptors, who held the trade market in the palm of their hands like Thanos with an Infinity Stone, except the stone was the greatest Raptor of all time, Kyle Lowry.
I am inevitable.
The Raptors, who were already at a disadvantage at the start of the season with their relocation to Tampa, struggled to regain their footing midway through the season after losing Pascal Siakam, Fred VanVleet, and OG Anunoby to the league's health and safety protocol, causing them to slide in the standings. No one would blame this team for calling this season a write-off and trading Lowry, an unrestricted free agent this summer, to a contender in hopes of retaining as many assets as they can before risking losing him to another team in the offseason. But evidently, the Raptors' asking price was too high for the likes of contenders like the Heat, Sixers, and Lakers. It may sting Raptors fans so soon after winning a title, but at this point, the higher draft pick would have been better.
I guess we'll never know.
The Western Conference is a little trickier, but there's way too many teams acting like they're getting into the play-in. Between the Spurs, Grizzlies, Pelicans, Warriors, Kings, and Thunder, there's only 3 teams that can get in the play-in and 1 that will get into the playoffs.
Something doesn't add up.
The Spurs have the second hardest schedule in the NBA remaining at the time of writing, and have already parted ways with LaMarcus Aldridge via buyout, indicating that they are trending downwards. The Warriors, without Klay Thompson this season, have an aging core of Steph Curry and Draymond Green, and the team in general has struggled to live up to the playoff aspirations of this season. Missing out on the playoffs could only benefit the Warriors and give them a chance at 2 lottery picks, jump-starting a new generation of talent in Golden State if the top 3 protected Minnesota Timberwolves pick that the Warriors own conveys to them. The Grizzlies and Pelicans are in similar situations. With their current rosters, they are probably good enough to contend for a play-in spot, but the idea of adding another generational talent to the likes of Morant and Jaren Jackson Jr. or Zion and Brandon Ingram may be too tantalizing of an idea to just give up. The team that faces the toughest predicament right now in the West is the Sacramento Kings. The team has the worst defensive rating in NBA history and flubbed on the opportunity of trading Harrison Barnes, who was redeeming his value this season before the trade deadline.
There you go. Barnes gets his look at look and money!
Financially, it'll now be tough for them to re-sign Richaun Holmes, an unrestricted free agent this summer, who has evolved into one of the top 10 centers in the NBA. Barnes also hurts the Kings' chances of tanking this year and could prevent them from adding another young piece to their young core of De'Aaron Fox, Tyrese Halliburton, and Holmes. For argument's sake, making the play-in has its perks. Not only does it provide playoff experience for any young teams, but it also provides a bump in revenue with extra games, albeit in the middle of a pandemic where there are little to no fans in most stadiums. But it also doesn't help that the lottery odds don't fully reward tanking quite like they used to. And outside of the top 5 prospects in the draft, there is a steep decline afterwards. But let's face the facts. What do the Magic have to show for their 8th place finish last season? A spanking from the Bucks in round 1 and number 15 pick Cole Anthony, a solid yet unspectacular NBA player. While the play-in will be fun for fans, teams, and players involved, and upsets do happen, although not as often as in other sports, it's simply not worth it in the long run. For those GMs who really think they can make some noise after sneaking into the playoffs, all power to you. But it appears too many teams are just playing stuck between not being good enough and not being bad enough. And unfortunately, teams tend to get stuck there for a long time. Thanks for watching. If you like this video and want to see more content like this, hit that subscribe button.